It's time for prophecy to be fulfilled. And these are more signs. The time of the Shemitah has begun. Isaiah chapter 41, verse 21. Set forth your case, says the Lord. Bring your proofs, says the King of Jacob and the King of everything. 22. Let them bring them, and tell us what is to happen. Tell us the former things, what they are, that we may consider them, that we may know their outcome, or declare to us the things to come. 23. Tell us what is to come hereafter, that we may know that you are gods. Do good or do harm, that we may be dismayed and terrified. 24. Behold, you are nothing, and your work is less than nothing. An abomination is he who chooses you. 25. I stirred up one from the north, and he has come, from the rising of the sun, and he shall call upon my name. He shall trample on rulers as on mortar, as the potter treads clay. 26. Who declared it from the beginning, that we might know, and beforehand, that we might say, He is right? There was none who declared it, none who proclaimed, none who heard your words. 27. I was the first to say to Zion, Behold, here they are. And I give to Jerusalem and the world a herald of good news. 28. But when I look, there is no one. Among these there is no counselor, who, when I ask, gives an answer. 29. Behold, they are all a delusion. Their works are nothing. Their metal images are empty wind. Yes, it's time for the Shemitah.
Hello, this is Kevin Clarkson with Prophecy in the News. We're coming to you today with a great show, and our guest is Pastor and Rabbi Jonathan Kahn. And Jonathan is a Messianic. I don't know that you use that term. I haven't heard you,
Sure.
but I would call you such.
Mm-hmm.
And you're well known for your book, The Harbinger, and just out at this time, The Mystery of the Shemitah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we've been discussing. And we are going to pick up kind of where we left off in our last discussion. We had talked about your first book, The Harbinger,
Yes.
and the judgment of God on America.
Mm-hmm.
And you had observed that America was in a unique role among the nations today because we began really at the presidential inauguration of George Washington in New York City at Wall Street at Ground Zero,
Ground Zero.
on our knees in prayer with the president and with the Congress.
Yes.
And as they inaugurated, they cried out to God that He might bless this nation, that He
Yes.
might see fit to prosper this nation,
Yes.
and prayed that they would stay on course with Him.
Yes. And that was the same day, we didn't mention this, that Washington gave a prophetic warning. And the warning was that, in effect, if America ever turns away from God, the blessings of heaven will be removed from the land. I mean, and that warning, that was given on the day where they prayed at the place which would become Ground Zero. And so we are watching America turn from God, and we're watching the blessings being removed. Which is also the warning of the Shemitah. The Shemitah is saying to any nation, to Israel, but now to us, that if your blessings are all from God, but if you turn from God and despise God and defy God and go against His ways, those blessings will not remain, and they will be removed from the land.
And you know, to help everybody think in the biblical terms, that judgment's not only on our finances, that's an obvious thing. We're in a horrible economy, really, and we have been since 2008, and we can talk about that. But it's a judgment on our families as well. We've seen such family disintegration. We've seen absent fathers. Even as you and I are talking this week, and I certainly believe in discipline and correction of children, but they're making a lot about men, professional athletes that are abusing their wives domestically and even their children too harshly. And we're seeing the disintegration of families, fathers leaving, poverty of single mothers, and now a redefinition of marriage itself.
And major things here. I mean, so when you look at the fall of Israel, they started calling evil what was evil good, and what was good evil.
Isaiah 5:21.
Yeah. And they also they were lifting up their children as sacrifices. And they were promoting immorality, and they were driving God out of their lives. Well, we're watching this in America, calling evil good and good evil. We have not lifted up thousands of children on the altars. We've killed millions. Of children in
over
abortion.
52 million, Jonathan.
Yeah. So now the redefinition of something as basic as marriage, the biblical definition, major points of thresholds.
This is the first in history.
Yeah.
It's never been done.
Yeah, and we were speaking before, but this is the same period of time that the Lord led me for the harbinger to come out, and I believe because we were at a tipping point, and God warns before He judges, but we're getting closer to that moment of judgment.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's all these things are converging, and that's what the mystery of the Shemitah is. The exact timing of these things.
Well, tell me, if we can, about the mystery of the sevens. We touched on that. It was mentioned once by you, but I'm not sure we followed that very far.
Yeah. Well, first of all, for those who don't know, a quick thing is the Shemitah is the seventh year. Every seventh year was a Sabbath year, which was a blessing, rest and all. But it turned into a judgment on Israel when they turned away from God. So the Shemitah is this key of God's timing, and it's even linked to, well, as we saw last time,
yes,
it lies behind everything from Wall Street to the economy to the exact dates. We spoke about the mystery of sevens. At the last two Shemitahs, which are the seventh year, you have the greatest crashes in American history happening on the exact biblical day both times, and you have the fingerprint of, it's all about seven. Everything is seven. You have 7% of Wall Street wiped out in 2001, 7% in 2008. You have 777 is the number of points wiped out on the day of the Shemitah, of the day of sevens. And then if you take that, I'll just slightly more. If you take that moment of 777 Wall Street on the peak of the seventh year Shemitah, and you go back 7 biblical years, first it takes you to the other crash. Down to the seconds. It takes you to the crash of 2001 on the Shemitah, on the day of the Shemitah. So you have down to the exact 4 o'clock. Go back then 7 days. It takes you, and 7 hours takes you to 9 o'clock on September 11th, the time of the attack of 9/11. So the mystery of sevens, which in the Bible, the Shemitah determines the timing of everything. And so literally it determines the timing down to the seconds of the greatest, most calamitous events of the last over 10 years. Exactly. And now we are, one of the things while we're talking about this, we are heading to the next one, and what's going to happen. And there are exact dates, and we do need to be prepared. And it's not just, as you said, not just the financial realm, it's everything, the rise and fall of nations in America.
Well, as I think about the rise of America, we didn't talk last time, but I read the Harbinger, and when they prayed on Wall Street at Ground Zero, they were at a little church building that comes into play with the prophecy in Isaiah and with the destruction. Could you comment on what that meant?
Yeah, on the day of 9/11, the ancient principle that the calamity returns to the same ground where the nation is dedicated to God. So that was Ground Zero. That's where we were dedicated to God. And then on that day, all the buildings around Wall Street are destroyed, ruined, except one is protected. The only one that's protected is the little stone chapel where they prayed and dedicated America to God that day. And the reason why it's protected is because there was an object that took all the force of 9/11 and saved the church. Well, the object was one of the 9 harbingers, was the sycamore, was one of the 9 harbingers. So the point of the harbinger, and the harbingers, is not to condemn a nation to judgment, it's to wake a nation from judgment. It's to save a nation from judgment. And even on the day of 9/11, a shock wave goes forth from the ground of 9/11, the consecration ground, Ground Zero, and strikes Federal Hall, the place where Washington was sworn in and gave the prophetic warning of what would happen if we ever turned away from God, puts a crack in the foundation.
Oh my.
So these things are so exact, and that, look, with that, those things are so exact with, the exact spot, but then God is so exact, the Shemitah goes to the exact timing. So this is giving you the place. That is giving you, the Shemitah is giving you the timing exactly. So God is so precise.
That's amazing.
And there's a mystery. One of the mysteries, which I don't always get into, but it's in the book. It's called the mystery of the towers. And now this is a whole other realm, but it's linked to the Shemitah. That is this: there's a mystery in the Bible in that towers are linked to greatness and power, and could be pride from the very beginning. From Babel, you have it. But in Hebrew, the word for tower is gadal or migdal. It's linked to the word gadal, which means greatness or pride. So there's a mystery here that the rising of great towers is linked to the rise of nations or great powers. Now, interesting thing. In 1870, America erects the first skyscraper in the world. Becomes the highest non-church tower in the world. America, for the first time, surpasses the old world, Europe. The next year, America becomes the strongest economic power on earth. The tower marks the beginning of the rise. From that moment on, Kevin, all the great towers in the world, or the highest towers, are going to come from America. It's going to get higher and higher. America's going to get higher and higher. It's going to go to the Empire State Building, as we go higher and higher and higher. And it's interesting because you have four of the great highest tower. You have this flurry of high towers in the year 1930 and 1931, which is the year of the Shemitah. And the Empire State Building is finished in the year of the Shemitah. Now the Shemitah. Here's the Shemitah. Actually, literally means to fall or to collapse.
That's the meaning of the word.
Release and fall and collapse. It's about humbling. A nation, comes back to God. Towers are about, hey, look how high and great we were going. Well, there's going to be this mystery here. It's going to come to a head. Get to 1945, America reaches its peak, the global power of the world, superpower. That year, a tower is conceived. On that year, the tower that's conceived is the World Trade Center. On the moment of it's going to be America's glory. It's going to represent it. That tower begins its construction in 1966. That's the year of the Shemitah.
1966.
Yeah. And then it takes 7 years. It's the cycle of the Shemitah. It's finished in 1973, the year of the Shemitah, the World Trade Center. It is destroyed in 2001, the year of the Shemitah. Mm-hmm. And in fact, Shemitah. Here's when the Shemitah came to Israel.
Ezekiel, chapter 31, verse 10. Therefore, thus says the Lord God, because it towered high, and set its top among the clouds, and its heart was proud of its height. 11. I will give it unto the hand of a mighty one of the nations. He shall surely deal with it, as its wickedness deserves. I have cast it out. 12. Foreigners, the most ruthless of nations, have cut it down and left it. On the mountains and in all the valleys, its branches have fallen, and its boughs have been broken in all the ravines of the land, and all the peoples of the earth have gone away from its shadow and left it. 13. On its fallen trunk dwell all the birds of the heavens, and on its branches are all the beasts of the field. 14. All this is in order that no trees by the waters may grow to towering height, or set their tops among the clouds, that no trees that drink water may reach up to them in height, for they are all given over to death, to the world below, among the children of man, with those who go down to the pit. Revelation, chapter 16, verse 8. And the fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch humans with fire. 9. And humans were scorched with great heat, and blasphemed the name of God, which has power over these plagues, and they repented not to give him glory. This is the warning. Yes, it's time for prophecy to be fulfilled, and all these are more signs.